Hey everyone, and welcome to 𝗲𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗁 China Perspectives. My name is 𝗲𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗁, and on this channel I talk a lot about China, HR trends and developments, career perspectives and changes in professional future for especially Western executives, as well as a variety of different topics for the business community. That means if you are from the West and you are in China, want to further your career in China, or if your company has dealings in China, this channel could be interesting to you. If you like it, please hit the like and subscribe button to follow me for more and let me know what you think in the comments below. Today, guys, what I want to talk about is compensation packages. The time is perfect. Chinese New Year is close, and Chinese New Year is that time period when usually companies are having their salary budget, their HR budget discussions, when companies are doing internal appraisals, when promotions are given or not given, and when salary discussions are taking place. However, what I would like to do today is not talking about your internal HR topics. What I'm talking about today is Western executives. So when I say Western, I mean, for example, from Germany, from Europe, from America, and so on, executive salary packages and how they have changed over the last decade. So 10 years ago, the year 2014, salary packages in China were great and they were high. The economy was booming, it was very easy to get a job, and we had so many Western executives coming into China, some of them already in China long-term and very immersed in the local culture, some of them what I like to call professional CEOs. Those would be those executives who on their career development go to different countries which are booming, which are very promising, spending somewhere 3 to 5 years in that country and then moving on to the next country. 2014 was one of the years when everybody was there and had a big business party. Back then, how did a compensation package for a Western executive look like? Now, when I say Western executive, I mean a general manager or maybe a managing director for the China operations of a company. One caveat I have to add is I do not include anybody from the hospitality industry, and I do not include anybody from the education industry. When I'm talking, I'm always talking about the business community coming from the industrial manufacturing side, ranging from automotive to heavy machinery to engineering to electronic components, robotic automation, and so on. We like to call our client, or I like to call our clients, the nerdy and dirty ones. So if you're nerdy and dirty, stick with me. So what did a compensation package for a China MD or a China GM look like? Well, I, as a recruiter, would have a telephone call or a video call with the global CEO, the global managing director, maybe the global HR leader or the owner of the company. And I would ask them, well, okay, so you're looking for a China GM and these are the requirements, education, language, technical skills, and so on. But what are you willing to pay? What is the salary you're offering? And you know, those companies, they had a list. They were really very well prepared, and they would have very distinctive classifications of the salary package that they would offer. So they would say, Miriam, we are offering the following. We are offering a base salary gross per year divided by 12 or 13 months. So there are some tax optimizations that you can legally do somewhere between, let's say, 1 million renminbi to 1.3 million renminbi. Additionally, we are going to offer a variable component. The variable component is going to depend on the candidate's performance. So that could be KPIs, that could be company performance in China, that could also be company performance global. And such a variable component would very commonly and best practice-wise be somewhere between 0 months to 6 months. And an average candidate in an average year would get a minimum of 3 months, so reach at least half of his or her variable component. And then the companies did something that was really great and very helpful for candidates. They said, Miriam, we fully understand that our employees, our Western executive employees, need to be integrated in China. We are appreciating that they're there, and we are willing to cover the educational fee, the school cost of the children. Now, why is that a big deal? That's a big deal because school costs for children are very, very expensive in China. I give an example. On the medium price level side, we have the German school, which is approximately 200,000 renminbi per year and per child. Very easily for other international schools, for example in Shanghai, you can go up to 350,000 renminbi per year and per child. So a question that I would ask as a recruiter is, okay, so how many children would you be willing to compensate for? So how many children would you pay for the school fee? And the average amount would be 3. So 3, I feel not so much because they did a calculation that they said after 3 it would be too expensive, but most families do not have more than 3 kids. So what companies try to communicate then is that they say, for the right guy or the right lady, we're willing to pay. Family inclusion is important. We're willing to pay for the educational fee. What they would also pay for is renting allowance. Renting allowance, and if you've been in China for a long time, you have probably seen some beautiful, beautiful penthouses, some beautiful, beautiful villas if you're in Beijing, out in Shuni, or if you're in Shanghai, over there in Qingpu. And those villas, with a garden, sometimes with a little pool, more than 1 terrace, and sometimes up to 3 stories high, beautiful and gorgeous, but also not so cheap. So a villa or even just a nice apartment downtown at that time also was quite pricey. So let's say you're a family of 4, a monthly rental of 30,000, 50,000, 70,000, 80,000 would absolutely not be crazy. So that is a high amount, 1,000 renminbi that is. Would absolutely not be crazy. So a housing allowance up to 20,000, 30,000 would easily be covered by the company against the 𝗵𝗶, where 𝗵𝗶 is the official invoice. Additionally, the company would usually provide a very nice class of a car for the personal and professional use of the candidate. Personal and professional use means that the candidate can ask his or her driver to drive not only him to work and back and on business trips and everything that's business related, but also be a driver to the spouse if they want to go shopping or to drive the kids to school. The driver would also be included. Additionally, it used to be absolutely normal that a very good medical insurance is provided for the candidate and his or her immediate core family, which is candidate, spouse, and the kids who are living in the household. Additionally, what would be very, very normal is that return flights to either the country of origin or to where the headquarters is located would be paid. And sometimes, we would have a little bit of a discussion depending on the distance, if it should be business class or should be first class, but overall it was paid. We had some additional allowances for dry cleaning, some restaurant visits and so on. And overall such a compensation package would easily reach about 2 million renminbi total and also higher. So let's say between 2 million or 2.5 million renminbi total compensation package would not be anything where I would blink my eye, would not be anything where we are overpaying a candidate at that time, or anything where we would say, wow, this is really super outstanding and unusual. Now, what has happened? Fast forward 10 years. At the end of 2024, we all know the environment has changed. We know the economy is in a different situation. We know there are a lot less foreigners available. We know that many companies are struggling, not only in the China market, but also from a global perspective. And so this has changed everything. What has not changed is my question. When I talk to the global CEO and I say, okay, so you want to hire a China GM or a China MD, and here are your requirements: education, industry experience, technical skills, and so on. So what are you willing to pay? And now what they say is, Miriam, we have a general budget. We have an all-in budget. And an all-in budget, what does it mean? An all-in budget is that they give me a rough idea, and then the candidate has to see how he or she is structuring this budget. So the overall budget has reduced. And of course, what they do still give me is the fixed compensation. So that would be the base salary. The base salary already has reduced. So right now, it would not be uncommon for the company, the client, to tell me a base salary for the same candidate, the same profile, somewhere between, let's say, 800,000 renminbi gross to about 1 million renminbi gross. On the surface level, not changed is the variable component. So on paper, this is still the same. You still have between 0 months to 6 months variable component, depending on KPIs, personal performance and company performance, either in China or global. However, what has changed are the level of difficulty to reach that. So where 10 years ago, it would almost be a given that such a candidate will reach at least 50% of his or her bonus, which would equal 3 months' salary, very easy with an upside up to 6 months. Now that is getting harder. That means when I talk to the network and when I talk to all the Western executives here, they grudgingly, not on camera, admit that variable components are hard to come by. So they are still there, but to reach the target has gotten significantly more difficult. The company usually does not offer a company car anymore, even though some do. A driver is not offered anymore. I've not heard about a driver being included in a very long time. Most often a company now prefers if the candidate has his or her own car, and they will pay a gasoline allowance. What is very important is that school costs are now included in the total budget a company gives. That means the total budget overall has reduced, and the candidate has to see out of the total budget, how much do I pay for rent? How much do I pay for school? How much do I pay for medical insurance, for home flights, and so on and so on? And the total budget has decreased. So the same candidate who would at least earn 2 million renminbi, easily 2.5 million renminbi, 10 years ago, would now find him or herself somewhere around 1.5 million renminbi total, if lucky up to 2 million. And then, of course, what do candidates do? They realize, oh, we don't actually need a 3-story villa out in Qingpu, so they're reducing a little bit. But one item which is very important and where most families are not willing to make concessions, and rightfully so, is the education fee. So what does it mean in practice? In practice, it means that if I introduce a candidate, a Western professional, who meets the requirements of the job description very well, and he or she has no kid, 1 kid, or maybe 2 kids in the educational system in China, in an international school, my client is still willing to do an interview. If the candidate has 2 kids, depends a little bit on the company, 3 kids or more, in the educational system in China, international educational system in China, the client already gives me a call and says, no, this is too much. How would you, even in the best case, of a budget which is now 1.5 million, how are you going to spend 600,000 just on school fees? So this is a significant change. And so what we see at the moment in the market is that a lot of families are deciding to either let their children go in the younger years to a Chinese school. A lot of kids have also grown up speaking bilingual, for example, German or English and Chinese. And a lot of kids now have parents from different nationalities. That means a lot of kids are growing up who have one of their parental units coming from the West and one of their parental units coming from China. So they do have an option going to Chinese schools. Guys, this has been the main change. So I hope you found it helpful to compare the compensation packages of a Western executive in China from 10 years ago to today. I'm curious to hear what you think about this development. I'm curious to hear what you think, especially about the component of the education fee. Are companies justified to not pay it anymore, or should they pay it? Are candidates expected to shoulder this cost themselves? Is there something that can be done with schools? I'm really interested to hear your opinion. If you want to hear more about career strategies for Western executives in China, if you want to hear more about negotiation tactics or salaries in China or other China perspectives, please stay tuned, follow my channel, and I'm looking forward to hear from you.